Origin just Homestead reaction. This is Nazi Occultism 1. The Thule Society. European history, that's an extra history. Why did this suddenly appear on my recommended channel? Is this like a... did it blow up or something? I don't know. Because it's been a while since I did an extra history video. It was called Extra Credits before, but now it's Extra History again. Extra History thing now. Okay. So... yeah, this is a great channel. Usually it's like 4-part series. I guess we're going to talk about, is this philosophical topic, like analysis of something, or like talking about history? It says history, it should be history, but Nazi occultism, right? So I'm guessing like, where did the Nazi cult and, occult and things like that started? Is that what it is? Thule Society? I think I heard about Thule Society somewhere, but I don't know what that is. I'm guessing it's connected to this. So yeah, let's do this one.
The extra historians. We finally meet. You know, I am a historian as well. I have read books. I am an academic. I have studied the sciences of parapsychology, astrology, and Aryosophy. So, colleagues, I must ask you, why would you disrupt my legitimate archaeological work?
Did he just say astrology?
Are you afraid we will prove the truth we already know in Nazi high command? That millions of years ago, ice moons crashed into the earth, seeding it with divine alien sperma that became the human race, and in the great Hyperborean age, Aryans were supermen like Siegfried who settled the world, creating writing and agriculture, founding Greece, Rome, and Buddhism. You know, Buddha was an Aryan, yes? And that their reign was only ended when their homeland of Thule was wiped out by another...
Buddha was a Hindu. What you talking about? Is it... do they actually believe this, all the alien shit? What is this, like Scientologist level shit? What is it? I didn't know this. I thought Nazi was always implied like, okay, we Germans are so great, and like, I don't know, the Nazi just means like socialist something, right? I thought it was that simple. I didn't know they would believe that level of deep shit. Buddha was a Hindu. What are you talking about? Like, is that why Hitler took, like swastika symbol? Man, this is deep. I didn't see that coming.
The ice moon creating the myth of Atlantis! Admit it. You're afraid I'm right, aren't you? Aren't you? Stop laughing. Stop it. We really believe this, Scheisse. Thanks so much to Wraithmarked Creative for supporting today's historical tale. And after the episode, please go check out their Kickstarter for Travis Baldry's deluxe edition of the fantastic novel, Bookshops and Bone Dust. Chances are you've probably heard at one time or another that Nazis were obsessed with the occult. Actually, thanks to Indiana Jones, Captain America, and Hellboy, the idea that Nazis pursued mystical artifacts might actually be the first thing you learned about them as a child. And later, you also probably chuckled away that idea as nonsense, right? Maybe not invented by movies, but definitely played up for effect. Maybe Himmler and other weirdos toyed around with dowsing or artifact collecting, but it's really a footnote in our understanding of the Nazi state. Academic historians often did the same, partially because those working on these issues.
Okay, look, yeah, that is fictional shit, all that, like Indiana Jones and things, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nazis actually tried to dabble in those things, because one thing about Nazis is true, they tried to find anything they could, right? They try to dabble with anything they could find as anything, weapon or anything, right? They try to do ridiculous weaponry as well. What is a bell thing, right? Like they supposedly like wanted to put it in the ground that could cause earthquake. The bell thing. They did very weird shit, and their future plans was even more fucked up. Like there's lots of plans that were like captured that they were thinking about doing. Not that they would have been successful. They were thinking about doing it before everything went down, right? So they're just mentality. If something works, it works. Let's try to think about it type of way.
Jews frequently approach the topic from a conspiratorial angle, inflamed by sensationalist TV documentaries, but also because it was just hard to get sources. Many German academics who participated in Nazi-sponsored archaeological digs were still active in the post-war period, and none too interested in discussing who'd funded their research back in the 1930s. However, in the last couple of decades...
Those are probably scientists who don't care about any of those things. They just care about science. Oh, Nazi Empire fell? Oh, well, can we still do our archaeology dig? Okay, let's just go, type of way.
decades, historians are beginning to revisit Nazi interest in the supernatural and pseudoscience, tracking how it underpinned the ideology of the movement itself and was used to bolster Germany's territorial claims. Some recent book, like Eric Kurlander's Hitler's Monsters, very helpful for this series, actually argue that much of the Nazi ideology can be seen in a framework of supernatural belief. And the picture that emerges is less one of the SS doing weird rituals in castles, and more about how Nazi ideology is awash in supernatural ideas, pseudoscience, and conspiracy theories. Which is actually why we wanted to do this series. Because, well, we're also currently in the midst of a world awash in disinformation and fringe beliefs that are used to justify political policy. And while it is fun to clown on the absurdities that Nazi leadership figures believed, we also shouldn't lose sight about how these beliefs helped cause incredible harm to millions. Just because an idea is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to like, oh, look at that, they were idiots type of way. That harms everyone. You don't want to put an element of history into like, oh, they were just morons type of way. It hurts one way or another everyone, right? You need to have a real clear picture. And one part of me that absorbs that information, like, oh, Nazis were always like this pseudoscience and like weird shit believers. And I don't accept that really. Maybe there's more to it than that. Because they were so successful with whatever they were doing until they weren't, obviously. Somebody who's like that kind of a moronic can't be that level of successful. That's the basic Occam's razor type of mentality I'll start with. And then I have complex thought over that and try to see more detail about it, like how they were working. And only thing I come with when I think about all that is like they tried to do anything that might work. Not that they 100% believe in that. All right, are ghosts real? Let's see. Let's put our scientists to it. Let's try to find it type of way. Because if they were just like idiots doing moronic things, how were they successful at the level they were, right? You see war stories, how people battle Nazis, right? And of all the battles of the past, they were really different. Nazis were really like driven. They were hard to fight, right? Fighting Nazis were, always like too like strenuous. If you see all the other wars, even the current wars that are going on right now in the world, if you try to like compare that with how Nazis fight, strategic and everything, those are not some morons. So saying like they were just some morons who believe in these weird things, how were they successful then? My mind doesn't process that.
Doesn't mean it's not dangerous. But that story actually begins long before the establishment of the Third Reich, when Germany was forming as a country. The later 19th century was a rough time for establishment religion. Attendance at mainline churches and synagogues declined in the face of capitalism, social change, and advancing technology. Yet, despite this disillusionment with organized religion, the yearning for spiritual fulfillment and social connection continued. Across Europe and North America, people began gravitating towards esoteric new religions like spiritualism, forms of paganism, theosophy, or Eastern traditions like Buddhism, joining movements that promised a spiritual truth outside traditional channels. Technology both drove and underpinned this questing, as inventions such as the telephone, the airplane, and vaccines hinted at a future where people achieved the previously impossible. Simultaneously, geologists and archaeologists made discoveries about the deep past that not only proved the Earth was vastly older than believed, but uncovered civilizations previously only mentioned in ancient stories. The whole concept of prehistory was founded with the understanding that primordial humans had lived in caves, hunted, and competed with other forms of ancient man, like Neanderthals. So in this environment, it's understandable.
Yeah, so industrialization, right, when it like really amped up at this level, and capitalism basically kicked in with the business element, everything in the Western world, you can see like how the science growing up, how people's interests changed, because before it was like monarchy's interest and how kings and people basically interact. And kings usually liked religion in general because that gave them power. But when slowly things shifts like that, right, slowly when like your whole society starts to become richer and richer, mentality of society changes, people's viewpoints also changes like that.
That across the world, it appeared possible that an incredible ancient discovery, such as Atlantis, might occur, or that technology would one day prove a fringe belief like clairvoyance to be measurable and true. Simultaneously, early genetics research and misapplication of Darwin's theories spawned a highly destructive eugenics movement in several nations, including the United States. And these forces were also acting on Germany, though taking on a slightly
United
different
States.
character because the country had only recently unified and was in the process of forming its national identity during this era.
Why is he not putting Bismarck there, right? There should be Bismarck in the back of every time he says unified Germany.
While seeking to create a culture that was quintessentially German, writers, artists, and intellectuals turned to folk tales such as that of the mythic hero Siegfried, legends of Charlemagne, or tales of monstrous creatures. The poems of Goethe, full of fairies, vampires, and the devil, were adopted as part of the national canon, and Wagner's Ring Cycle reignited interest in old stories of dwarves and dragons. In these tales, the German protagonists were mythic supermen and pure-hearted women who defeated demons and monsters, as well as scheming medieval caricatures of Jewish people. After all, repression of Jewish communities was nothing new in the lands now called Germany. Some retellings even cast
Yeah, when your society becomes rich at that level, you try to find many avenues that you didn't think about before. You try to create shit like this, right? Because your society is richer, your pastimes increases, right? Because you're rich, you have time, you find things to do. It's not just about survival anymore. And 20th century Germany, end of it at least, right, was a scientific powerhouse, right? Before World War I. That's why in World War I, like, Germany was kind of like, I'll take everyone by myself type of mentality, because they were powerhouse in that way.
Supernatural creatures like werewolves and witches as heroic figures, defending German soil, which later led multiple Nazi units to adopt the nickname werewolves. This attempted cultural fusion of Christianity with pagan traditions was a massive success, but also baked the supernatural and anti-Semitism into German culture. Meanwhile, German school curriculums attempted to instill a sense of epic history into students, telling the great tales of the German race in ages past. At the same time, a popular movement known as Folkish nationalism started to spread, which imagined a kind of ideal German as a racially pure peasant who had spiritual connections to the land. Esoteric writers began to speculate that,
like elves in Lord of the Rings, nature and they are one. They are really tall and powerful being. Yeah, there you go.
Blood had magic qualities, and that pure-blooded Aryans would have spiritual and psychic powers should they not dilute their blood by marrying outside their
Come
ethnicity.
on.
Paradoxically, these movements were also fascinated with Eastern mysticism and plundered Buddhism and Hinduism for ideas, while claiming mutual descent. Soon, Folkish secret...
Hey, wait, what?
Paradoxically, these movements were also fascinated with Eastern mysticism and plundered Buddhism and Hinduism for ideas, while claiming mutual descent. Soon, Folkish secret societies, based on the Freemasons, were springing up around Germany, including one breakaway founded in the wake of World War I, the Thule Society, which played a small role in what would become Nazism. Named after Thule, a far northern island mentioned in an ancient Greek account, the Thulers were an odd bunch. Membership required genealogical proof that applicants had no Jewish ancestors, which gained them admittance to what was essentially a discussion group on racial nationalism and right-wing politics. And
I can't believe that when a society grows at that level, when they become more open-minded, when things like this happen, it happens, right? Capitalism, industrialism, they become rich. Look at the science that came out of Germany, right? From like Einstein and everything, right? Einstein's science was the most important of all time. That's how good Einstein's science and everything was, general relativity, special relativity. And at the same time, this shit was also happening where they were racist. They didn't like Jews and all that. So when society becomes richer, some people becomes like really open-minded and like really positive, but some people also becomes like too egoistical. We are better type of way. So two sides comes out. Is that it? That's insane.
And its founder, the occultist, astrologer, and one-time Muslim convert, Rudolf von Zabatendorf, borrowed a symbol from Eastern religion for his new group, the swastika. One popular idea within the society was that of
copyright infringement, man. What the fuck?
World ice theory, a pseudoscientific theory that the universe had been created by massive collisions between cosmic bodies of fire and ice, and bombardments by ice moons had shaped Earth's history. According to this belief, ancient humans had not only arrived on Earth.
Where were the all scientists? Where were Einstein and like his fellow scientists then? When they just say like, you dumbass, like we are not even, we've done with this type of scientific research, right? This is not, we're thinking about much fundamentals right now. I'm thinking about like like quantum and everything at this point. I'm thinking about like relativity and things at this point. I'm trying to predict 13 billion light years from now what is happening. And you're talking about all this shit like ice and fire collide, and that's how you're talking about that. Where were these people? Why didn't they knock at the door like, you're a bunch of morons? That's not how things work.
Earth via one of these comets. But these ancient Aryans had spread out in a mythic golden age of civilization before Thule was again destroyed by an ice moon, handily explaining why the supposed Germanic master race were living in caves and mud huts while the Mesopotamians developed writing and the Romans built an empire. Soon, they claimed archaeologists would look closer at major archaeological sites around the world and find traces of ancient Aryans in places as far as Egypt, Babylon, and the Incan ruins of Tiahuanaca. These ideas dovetailed well with ideas already expressed by the German-Russian theosophist Madame Blavatsky, who'd proposed a similar idea to explain why Germans were, in fact, the descendants of Atlantis. A further offshoot of theosophy, Aryosophy.
Wait a minute, is this Aryan the same Aryan that in India there was like a Aryans in like Hindu texts, right? There is like mention of this Aryans and everything in like Hindu mythology. From I think Hindu Kush mountains, everything is in Iran, Iraq or something. In Hinduism, that's all India basically, from all the way to Hindu Kush mountains, Iran to like modern India, right? In very old texts, 4,000 or 5,000 years old texts, where like there was like group Aryans. I don't exactly know, but because Hindu mythology is too big, I can't know. I have to basically find it out. But there is this supposed to be are they supposed to be the same Aryans? Because they're taking a lot of cultural things from Hinduism. I'm guessing somebody just liked that and started, oh, we are Aryans, we are this, we are alien race. Somebody could have just started that shit.
Focused on mysticism involving Aryans and would influence Nazi radical thought, was patronized by Thule. But the Thule Society was not just a band of eclectic weirdos. They were also active on the German far right. In 1919, when left-wing socialists took over Munich and declared a republic, the Thule Society plotted to kidnap the leader of the new republic and sent agents to infiltrate the military. The socialists got wise and raided Thule offices, executing several Thulers and prompting the group to help whip up the right-wing militias that retook the city. Yet the Thule Society was not viable as a political party, especially after its antics in Munich had made it open to public scrutiny. It was too elitist, too aristocratic. So it branched out, with several ex-members founding the German Workers' Party, or DAP, an extreme right political organization consisting of disaffected World War I veterans with ethnic nationalist beliefs, deep-rooted anti-Semitism, and a working-class background. Its founder was, of course, a semi-professional astrologer. Later, the Thule Society would purchase a newspaper for the party's use and bankroll its publication. Still, it was a small, obscure, badly run party, and it might have stayed that way. Except that in 1919, an enlisted soldier showed up at one of its meetings. The soldier was a decorated veteran, retained as a liaison with civilian organizations, who was occasionally sent to political meetings to see if they were secretly communist. His name was Adolf Hitler, a committed...
Yeah, who was that? Was a artillery runner? What the fuck was he in World War I? Which is like one of the most fucked up jobs you can have. Like bombings are happening and you're running through them. Trench runner? Was that the name? Like it's everything bombing shit out there. His job was to like deliver letters or something. Like, okay, I guess that's a job. Somebody in the World War I, like, yeah, that's a job. We'll assign somebody to do that. There you go.
Atheist, and he thought that this ridiculous German Workers' Party could be so much more. But pop quiz, hotshot, how would you go about transitioning from this episode into talking about a phenomenal Kickstarter project you're really excited about? Well, if you're like me, the only way you know how is with a Keanu Reeves movie reference and a plucky attitude, so let's talk some bookshops and bone dust. So in 2023, Wraithmark Creative ran a record-breaking
Yeah, well, go to original video page, link from there, support this channel. It's a really nice history channel. I've been watching that for a long time. I don't think I've reacted to a video in a long time, but yeah, I remember like all videos from this. Like of all the history channels I watched, it's like a very significant one, right? A lot of like Bismarck and things. I already still remember that. Like, okay, right? A lot of Swedish and things, right? Sweden versus Russia and all that shit. or something interesting. Okay, I'm now convinced that Nazi Aryans, that we are Aryan race, probably refer to like in the Hinduism texts, there Aryan Empire and all that, right? It was even something called Aryan something, land of Aryans or something. India was called in this Hindu text. So I'm guessing like they basically took that and referred to them as Aryans, since they were taking a lot of things from India, swastika and everything. But damn, that's something. Because I'm pretty sure like Aryans came from like some like Hindu. There's like Hindu Kush mountains, which is in Iran, but in Hinduism that's all the India. Yeah. So from Hindu Kush mountains to like all the way to like middle India, like Aryans kind of like dominated that place, leaving the South India with different empire or something. There was something like that, right? Yeah. So I'm guessing they just basically refer to them as that, and then some alien shit isn't that. I don't know. It's really weird, like what people take inspiration from, twist that and make their own thing. It's really hard to keep track of. But yeah, every time like we are the Aryan race, and I always felt like, why does it sound Indian? This is why. Right, well, if you like my next one, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.